If you're in the jar, you can't read the label. If I could combine this like daily engagement around photos that would hopefully lead to getting this great milestone data and information so we could genuinely help families.
Your customers' pains are your step up to the next level of product. If you're solving big problems, you're not going to hit it perfectly all the time.
But there's something easier about being able to carry on being in that state rather than being in a well-paid job and stepping away from it. Every time you try and circumnavigate it and make yourself different, you're just disrupting the way people think and understand story and the way humans understand things.
Welcome to the DevReady Podcast, where we're helping non-techs build great tech. Today, joined by Co-Founder of Tinybeans, who exited on the ASX, which is quite a fascinating story in itself. Supports StartMate in terms of mentorship, built a product now which is called PitchSlap. I love the name. Sarah-Jane, thank you for joining us. I'm sure there's plenty that we will learn and plenty that the audience will get value from. So thanks for coming on.
You are very welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, for everyone out there, who is Sarah-Jane? Tell us about Tinybeans' background and what you love doing. I think that's probably the critical things that people might want to hear about.
Okay, well, yeah, like you said, probably the thing I'm most well known for is that I still am the co-founder of Tinybeans. So that's a online baby journal platform that myself and my co-founder Stephen started in the end of 2011. And it was his idea. I always kind of...
Where did the idea come from?
Yeah.
How did it stem? Yeah, that's always a fascinating
Yeah, he always
piece,
claims like sexism because everyone assumes it was my idea because I'm the woman, but it was absolutely not. It was his idea, and he came up with the idea a few years previously. So Tinybeans used to kind of be two different things. He built Tinybeans, the website. Apps didn't exist back, 3-4 years previously when his son had struggled with speech delays. And he originally built Tinybeans as a milestone tracker. So he thought, like, if he'd been ahead of tracking his kids' milestones, like maybe he would have clocked some of these delays a little bit earlier and could have intervened. So that was one thing he built. And the name Tinybeans came from, so his name's Stephen O. Young, and his initials are Soy. And so his software company was called Soybean, and therefore the company that was around his kids was Tinybeans.
Yeah, got it.
I don't know if I've ever really shared that one before. But he built that, and at the same time, his third son was born, and a couple of his friends had built like blogs to share their kids' photos, and he was like, I am never going to do that, right? And luckily, his version of lazy was like, so I'm going to try building one of these new apps, right? So he built this app that for his own family, just to share his kids' photos. And what he saw was that still the same problem persisted with Tinybeans. Like, people were only coming to the website once they had an issue. But he was like, people were coming back to this photo sharing app like every day. I mean, people,
all the time,
family, like it was just red, like they couldn't get enough, right? So he was like, if I could combine this like daily engagement around photos that would hopefully lead to getting this great milestone data and information so we could genuinely help families, that could be an incredible thing. So that was his insight. That was what he built. He approached a mutual friend of ours to help him build it. This guy couldn't do it, but he was like, you should speak to my friend S-J because I think what you really need is someone to help you market it. And she's got a great background in marketing to parents. So that's how it came to be. We went for a coffee, half an hour, and like he hasn't got rid of me since.
And the rest is history, as they say.
The rest is history.
What was it like growing quite a big application, I would say? How many users are on the platform? What does it sort of look like? What was it like? Because when you take a step back, we're talking to non-techs, a lot of founders listen to this and looking at, we're looking to build something big that can add a huge amount of value, but there's definitely some learning in that right away. What was found was where to position based on interest, what people really needed rather than what you wanted to build. Sometimes it's, we want to build this, but does the market really need it? So there's a good little learning in there.
Well, we got lucky because we built it for ourselves, essentially.
Yeah.
Which, doesn't always work out, right? And
doesn't always work out. No,
and it's
it's
a big
very true.
risk.
Yeah,
It's a perceived wisdom. It's not something I'd necessarily recommend to other people. It can pay off, but we also listened really carefully as well, right? So I think, whilst we were primarily building for ourselves, we pretty much ran customer service for 2 years, replied to every email ourselves. And actually in the shared space I work, I met someone the other day and she was like, oh my God, were you the founder of Tinybeans? I've got this email from 2013 where I emailed for some help and some questions around your privacy. And this is how you responded, right? So we took a risk, building for ourselves, but we weren't flying blind. We were constantly backing it up with signals from our users, listening to our users, building what they wanted as well, which most of the time was what we also wanted. So it was just, a lot of, I wouldn't say luck, but we were building for ourselves and listening to our customers at the same time. So, yeah.
It becomes a bit of a listening to the customer end, right? So at some point when they're out in the customer hands, you get the feedback and you take it on and then you evolve the product with that. And you need to, otherwise you're really just going to be pushing a product that no one wants. So at what point did that sort of start to flow in?
Service, if you keep getting the same issue, you're I want this off my plate, right? I don't want to keep answering. So I think it's actually, sometimes I say that's a really good growth hack, literally manage the customer service channel yourself, because you're going to want to solve your own pain. So, yeah.
Yeah, and your customers' pains are your step up to the next level of a product, which is, I work with quite a number of startups and they get frustrated by customer feedback when it's not good. I go, that's okay. That's what you want. You want to hear their pains because, yes, if you're solving big problems, you're not going to hit it perfectly all the time. So that's where the learning and the gold is. Yeah.
Someone the other day, someone was furious with me about something that happened in my new company. It's been the first only really disgruntled customer. And a couple of people were like, S-J, don't listen to the negative, vibes. And I was like, no, actually, there's some truth in some of the things that they said. And if I can do that and have kind of brought them in, with more knowledge, they probably wouldn't have faced this issue. So I think it's super valuable.
Oh, the biggest challenge is taking the ego out of it.
100%.
Just letting it, just being present and accepting what's coming and just listening from just not from it's your baby, which is difficult for lots of people. Everyone,
and they definitely could have adjusted their tone.
Of course.
Tone was unnecessary, but I tried to block that out.
The tone is difficult sometimes when you've got to put up with it.
You're lucky I'm not too sensitive, but
Yeah, so lots of learning there. Is this around PitchSlap in
particular?
I
don't think they quite got how AI, where they put in 2-3 words and expected it to generate their whole pitch deck. And I'm like, you can't put in the teeniest amount of info and expect it to nail it. But again, my insight was I can put this more up front. And if someone does only put in a few words, have an alert that come up. You probably haven't given enough information, right? So that's what I took out of it, rather than choosing to focus on the tone.
A couple of things. Exactly. And that's probably more of an education thing rather than 100%. Anything else.
100%.
Yeah, it's how do I educate these customers? If they put 2 or 3 words in, maybe, don't let them do that. Maybe you help them expand it with AI and fix it and then put it in. There's different ways to think about it just to support them. Yeah, definitely. No, brilliant. PitchSlap, why? Why have you gone into another startup? Just fun or just something you saw a key problem in? Or what was it for you?
Okay, I didn't really mean to. So there was a bit of a journey after Tinybeans. So, oh my God, if I give our Tinybeans journey in 30 seconds, the rapid fire version is we started it in 2012, significant traction to start with, scaled it really quickly. We listed it in 2017 on the ASX.
What was that like? Did you actually ring the bell? Were you part of that? Oh, well done. That's very cool.
A really, really cool moment. I wish my family had been there from England, but lots of videos getting to ring the bell. Awesome. So something I'll never forget. So that was really cool. And then off the back of that and that, injection of investment, we were able to move our headquarters to New York. So then we had offices in Sydney and New York. Stephen stayed in Sydney. I was in New York with our CEO. And that's where kind of the majority of our user base was. So that was a really cool
So
part.
from an idea to ringing the bell on the stock exchange, and yeah, it's amazing what can happen in the world of building startup and listening to our users and being like, you can see the passion behind what you had in the product as well.
Oh my God. I was actually talking to a friend last night. We were at the Techstars demo event, and she just also exited her business. Her name's Christy. She was the founder of Plan, another incredible founder. And talking about how lucky we were. I had a business that I loved the idea. We were genuinely bringing joy to the world. The emails that I would get from grandparents, that you're connecting me to my grandkids. Sometimes they'd never met in real life. Genuine, joyful product. New York Magazine called us the most loving space on the internet. And that was good. Yeah. And then really cool. To do it with people that you love, an incredible team that, and get to, live in Sydney, live in New York, and then, make money out of it as well. That is literally
just a win-win-win. Yeah.
The dream. And I'll never not feel lucky and grateful that I met Stephen and was able to be part of that. But yeah,
at the moment, back to that meeting, that half-an-hour meeting, what tipped you into jumping into a startup? What was that? What drew you in?
So probably three main things. So first of all, him. And I remember we went for a half-hour coffee at Bondi Junction. And I remember him turning up and he had this poster under his arm, because it was this idea at the time, how we'd monetize. You could print 365 photos from the year and put them in a poster. So we had this little poster. And just how humble he was and just open. And this is someone, and he's really kind of brought me into the tech world and guided me through it, and just just being so transparent and honest and self-deprecating and funny. I just knew he was a really great guy, and it came through a friend, so that was a real. It
always helps. A referral helps.
And the idea itself. So I've moved from England a couple of years previously with my 1-year-old, just had a new baby, and my family couldn't get enough photos, right? And
so it made sense for you at the time. It's good timing too.
Yeah. And she had a beautiful baby book that I'd made, but by the time the second one came, he had nothing,
more baby books.
No more baby books. And I think I'd kicked my dad off Facebook. I think I might have sworn on Facebook once, and he phoned me up to get really angry with me, and I'm I don't need that in my life. Dude, I'm that maybe Facebook isn't where we hang out. And so I didn't have a way to easily connect with him. So I wanted it as a parent. I'm always up for a new adventure. So I think, I was just whatever. And also, and this is, I find a really interesting thing to talk about. I had, the reason we probably even came into being was I'd always worked in ad agencies, creative agencies, and was doing some part-time work for a friend of mine, being a community manager for brands. Just to, keep my brain ticking along. It was some part-time work I could do while I was a stay-at-home mum. And, but, we didn't have much money floating around. We were making do when the kids were little. And I kind of we called them the pooey poor years, me and my husband. I've spoken about this before. And I think there is something, actually, it sounds counterintuitive, but there's something easier about being able to carry on being in that state rather than being in a well-paid job and stepping away from it. Whereas we're why not take a risk whilst we're already just scraping by?
Just getting through. Yeah, I get it.
So we can continue to get through and take a big risk that hopefully will pay off, rather than giving up a really great income and having this big shift. We're let's just, me and my husband were let's just see where this takes us, right? So some people might find that too hard, right? Because for the first 2-3 years we didn't pay ourselves, so the pooey poor years continued with small children. But I actually found that an easier lack of shift to manage.
Got it. So, its timing's interesting, It's especially corporate down to start up is difficult because you're taking that massive hit.
So I never had to do that. So me and my husband, we muddled through, and so there were the key reasons. But I think the main thing was Stephen and
Stephen had an idea by the sound of it. The idea had to make sense to you, and you can relate. When you can relate to something, you can see an opportunity and a gap that would help you. if you don't believe in your own product, you can't sell a product or communicate a product or position a product. It's really, or an offering, it's impossible.
Yeah,
So
I'm
you
not
need to
one of those
believe in it
people
and
that,
see the
some
value.
people like sell
Yeah.
ice for the
Yeah.
Eskimos. I'm like, no, I can't do
Yeah,
that. I have to
yeah. Have to
really
believe in it and see the
100%.
value for everyone involved. Otherwise,
100%.
why are you behind it? So
Yeah.
that's my thinking anyway. And it sounds like you're very similar.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, but you
so
asked how I got to
yeah,
PitchSlap, right? That was supposed to be
yeah.
the 30-second version. Sorry,
No, that's
that's fine.
okay. That's okay. No, it's I dug into a little bit around why you started, because there's always a point where people make a decision, and I'm going to jump into something, and I've seen it needs to be for the right reasons, not just for that dollar figure. I noticed that a lot of people jump into things so we're going to make a lot of money out of it. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of hard times, and during that journey, you spent 2 or 3 years really digging in, and it became difficult. It was probably a difficult time, I imagine, and it always is. There's no
Yeah,
real hit the ground running and everything smooth sailing. But yeah, what is the possibility? We don't really know when we walk into something either.
yeah, right.
Pitch slap.
Okay, so
Yeah, let's go.
so Stephen and I both exited
Yeah.
Tinybeans early 2020, and I had a little bit of trying to
Yeah.
figure out what to
What
do,
did that
and
feel like? Because that would be it's a big change, right? So
big
this has been
change.
your life for a long period of
And I
time.
struggled. I
Yeah,
struggled. I was a little bit lost, little
yeah.
bit like angry, sad. Yeah, just couldn't quite figure out. But along, eventually though, I think something always comes. And luckily, I had a friend, my friend Caitlin in Melbourne. And one thing I'd really kind of got fascinated with at Tinybeans was positioning. Like we'd made a couple of little errors along the way. I think got mixed up with talking about our vision rather than, our product positioning. And also, I think it coincided with us scaling. Like I'd always been able to just, knock messaging out because we were small. And once you scale, you need to bring people along the journey, bring frameworks. So it was a journey for me. And I really kind of got fascinated by the power of positioning and how I genuinely think it's like the growth hack superpower, right? That when you have that, and it supercharges everything, like all the other growth hacks that come out of it. I'm like, if you don't know what to say and you don't know who you are and you don't know where you sit in the market and why people would choose you, it's really hard to get those up and running. From SEO, from AI search, from ads that you need to create, your website, your sales deck, whatever it might be, if you haven't nailed that core positioning. So I got super fascinated with it. And at the same time, my friend Kate she deals with a lot of startups. Every time they were kind of struggling with this, like they'd been going a few years, was struggling how to talk about themselves. They'd maybe, pivoted, brought in more products, more people. She was like, you should talk to my friend S-J. She's really great at helping you figure this out and get aligned. So after about the 10th call, I was like, I should stop kind of being Kate's mate and maybe I should do this
Do
properly.
this
And
for
this
something. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
So now I,
yeah.
I consult with a lot of kind of often scaling startups with, some growing pains, often probably where we hit them at Tinybeans, right? Helping them figure that out and how to talk about themselves simply and get all those foundations for growth in place. And then I help them kind of with their growth strategy. So that was one thing. And
And
then,
on that, just quickly,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
talk about yourself simply. There's a lot of noise in the marketplace. So, how do we cut through? And simplicity is probably the easiest path to cutting through, but easier said than done. It's not as simple as it sounds to get to simplicity in comms, right? So,
Oh my God,
what's
it's like you've
yeah,
read my website and you're like,
yeah? No, I haven't.
because I'm like, literally, it says
Yeah,
complicating is easy, simplifying is
yeah,
hard.
yeah.
And I'm
It
like,
is
and I
very
think
difficult.
often you have as well deeply intelligent, smart, technical
Yeah.
founders
Yes.
who, and I struggle with this as a founder as well. You want everyone to know everything, right? So you tend to overload and you're like, I don't want to lose a potential customer client because they,
Yeah. So let's
they
just
don't know
throw
I've got
everything
this.
into a pot,
Yeah. And actually all
confuse
that's done.
everything.
Yeah, it
Yes.
actually has the opposite effect. People are like struggling to easily understand what you are. And it's a journey you need to take people on, which is coming back to simplicity and storytelling is the ultimate superpower. You're taking them on a journey, and investors, customers, everyone's human, right? And they're busy and overloaded. So the simpler and easier you can make it for people to understand what you are, why they should choose you, why you're better and different, like that is a superpower. So that's what I'm
And if
seeing.
you got the old saying that I've heard many times, confused mind says no. So if anyone's confused, then there's no yes coming to any of it.
And
So
the biggest thing deals lose
Mm.
out on often is to no decision, right? It's not, sometimes it's not to a competitor, it's just because they're like, this is too hard.
It's indecision.
So the
exactly.
easier you can make it and take people along that journey and understanding, like, the better. So that's what I help people do. And at the same time, I was really missing working with that kind of 0 to 1 kind of part. And, unfortunately for my consulting business model, I'm often like, you shouldn't be paying consultants to help you figure this stuff out, right? And often, like, I think as a consultant in a growing business, that being that outside person is actually really helpful. Like, you can
especially
align
around
people.
that confusion and message, because sometimes from the outside in, it's easy to see, oh, this is just this. Oh, really? But what about all the other stuff? No, that's just noise.
That's a really great saying, which is like, if you're in the jar, you can't read the label. And I'm like, that's kind of it. So I help you that. But I'm like, for early stage starters, I really wanted to help you, like, teach you the building blocks, because also your positioning and the way it's probably going to change. Like, you're going to iterate a lot at the beginning. So if you understand the concepts and the process, it will really enable you to do that quicker. So I mentor at StartMate.
I would say it will change, not probably change. It will
100%.
change.
So again, if you had paid a consultant, they might have nailed it for that moment in time, but then it's probably going to change and you don't have to go back and, like, use them again. If you can, have the skills and iterate at the beginning, I think that was in really good stead. So that's what I wanted to do for StartMate. And I'm loving doing that. Like, and also I mostly do, like, B2B work now, and they've asked me to run their consumer stream. So that's like, a little bit of going back to my roots. And so it's super fun, and getting to work with them and help them kind of, on their positioning and growth strategies. And also, and this is how PitchSlap came about. This was definitely not 30 seconds, but I was seeing
we're in no rush here. It's okay.
The first versions of their pitches, and a few things all collided in my brain at the same time. I was like, wow, it's really hard learning to pitch, right? Like, it's a really scary thing. And, people often aren't, great at it to start with. So I saw that.
No, you fumble your way through it like everything else that we learn.
Right? It's really hard and nerve-wracking. But then I saw that people are also not that great at giving feedback. Like, people tend to soften it. Some people are really good at it, right? They can be kind and clear, but most people, and sometimes there's so much of it that it's hard to give. And that makes founders, like, lean out, and sometimes they just don't want to hear it as well, right? Actually, what they want to hear is how great their idea is or their pitch, and they're kind of resistant. So that was another thing. And at the same time, I was like, oh, I'd been wanting to learn to build AI tools. I'd been wanting to find a way to productize a little bit of my knowledge, because I'm like, also lots of people reach out and I can't talk to everyone. So I was like, if I had a little way of...
How do I scale that out a bit? Yeah.
Sending like, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't do a coffee or call, but here's a little thing I built that should help you get on your way. So anyway, long story short, I had this idea for a tool that, what if it could tear down your pitch, like, in a funny way that would not get you too offside, but give you the brutal feedback you needed, and then not just leave you stranded there, it would rewrite it for you. That was the idea I had for PitchSlap. And I literally started building it that afternoon. I was pretty chuffed with the name in my head.
The name's brilliant. That is good. Great positioning. Yeah.
I know someone's going to come back.
You know what you're going to, as soon as you get into it, you know what you're going to get. So
I know. And I think that's kind of why it's taken.
You're not going to get pitch slap. Yeah.
Someone's going to come back and go, it's not actually a pitch slap. A pitch slap is when you, like, jump on someone after, like, a friendly outreach. And I'm like, yeah, I know that, but it's funny. Just leave it alone. Yeah, it still works. So, and I was trying to really do, like, practice what I preach. So I was like, don't get carried away. I built a Google form that enabled people to input their story, hooked it up to, like, the OpenAI API, and just saw, is there an appetite for this? So I was really trying to do the whole MVP, did that. People loved it. I built the website. It keeps getting shared. And I suddenly realized I've got a bit of a startup on my hands. So
off you go again.
I get to be this kind of unhinged, like, crazy persona who just says what she thinks, which is really fun.
That's really cool.
Yeah. But then people are coming back to me saying, can you help me build a pitch deck now that I have my story straight? Because what it does is it nails your narrative. I think that's the key thing I saw. I think people get up in their heads about writing a deck and forget that they're telling a story to humans. Like I just spoke about, telling a story to busy, overwhelmed humans. And so it nails your story, but then you do need to build a deck. So I've just launched a pitch deck builder. And I'm seeing how it goes. And I think
brilliant.
there could be loads of things I get to slap, like your customer story, your sales story, and generate like assets off the back of that. So that's where I want to go.
Yeah, in terms of helping people positioning, it's critical to anything that we do. And until you find right positioning and cut through and how to communicate a story, very difficult to sell, position. Put yourself out there to market, to put ads out there. It's difficult if you don't have any sort of direction when you're meandering around. Oh, we just do X, Y, Z. But yeah, what you do is not what people buy. Yeah.
No. And I think that's the bit. They often founders tend to start with who they are. And I'm like, well, but people don't know if you're the right person to solve this problem if you haven't started with the problem. And then again, they don't know if you built the real solution, if they don't know what you're building it for. Like there isn't narrative arc you need to take people on, and every time you try and circumnavigate it and make yourself different, you're just disrupting the way people think and understand story and the way humans understand things. Like I promise you, if you take people on this journey, it will unlock like understanding. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, over 17 years in business I've been. It took us forever to tell the story, and it starts with a problem statement around industry. It's interesting, and it works really well in the tech space. So yeah, I think I fell into that. I didn't really do anything special, but it just sort of happened over time. But yeah, having that leg up to that direction is very helpful. Because it does make a difference.
And I'm imagining what probably happened was you were like, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you explain it to people, and sometimes you see that dead look behind people's eyes, right? And they're like, what is he banging on about? And then sometimes you might say it in a way where you see an unlock and you're like, okay, those are the words. Those are the words. Like,
a lot of what we do is in software space, software development, supporting, consulting, and every 9 out of 10 people that came to us had a problem. Yep. This wasn't working, that wasn't working, had a fail here, there. I started investigating. 90% of projects fail in software. Why? Over time, over budget, wrong solution. Just telling that story makes people feel calm. Okay, I'm not the only one. And then how do we solve for that? So it just simply understanding the problem more than anything then enables you to put a story and then put some data behind it, and then off you go. But that took a while to get to. But
like if you imagine if you'd have come into them going, well, what you need to do is this, 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 and this, it probably would have
it's like more defensive,
whereas if you said, don't worry, everyone goes through this, which is what I do with the positioning, right? It's so hard to understand your company while you're in it, right? I struggle. Everyone does. Don't feel bad. Let me try and help. So don't start with like, but what we can do is create this messaging framework, and they'd be like, oh my God.
What do we do now? Let's go away.
Yeah.
You're very, very full of energy. Let's put it that way. I'm sure you've been told that many times.
A few.
I always like to ask people what gets you up out of bed every morning, but I don't think you need to ask you that. I can see the passion just flowing through you.
And that's more my dog. I can hear it like 6:30 on the dot.
What type of dog do you have?
A chocolate lab. So she just...
A chocolate lab. Oh, lovely dog. Yeah. I've got a big boxer. He's an alpha male boxer. He's bounces around. He's getting a bit older now, but he's good fun. He's similar. Gets you out of bed in the morning.
100%. Yeah, I wish I could say, yes, the passion for my business, but actually it's the dog looking for her breakfast.
In terms of storytelling, it seems to be a cut through for you, right? So always been in marketing, positioning, storytelling, so cut through for you, and I can see that sort of stems through. What's some detail around who have you helped, say, go from where they were to being able to position themselves in a better way, and what has that done for them?
What people I've worked with? What's some people that I can talk about? Like one, I think that one of my favorite clients that I work with, you might know them. They're a Melbourne startup called Ed Rollo.
Ed Rollo? No, never heard of him, but tell me, enlighten me. There's so many businesses.
Do really incredible work. So, started as a like a tutoring service. So helping often, people doing their final exams like year 11, year 12, cram and study, but essentially built out a whole system for learning, which is, a way for teachers to stay on top of the curriculum, distribute work, for students to engage, but hadn't quite kind of nailed how they were talking about that. So when I came, the messaging that they were kind of leading with was, for teachers and, bring joy to teaching. And I think that's what, they were trying to bring to teachers, right, who are so overwhelmed and so overworked that wanted their system to unlock this. But that was really hard for busy teachers to realize that what's the value, what's actually going to bring to my teaching day, and how do I use it? So what we did was, look at that, look at where they were trying to build towards, like what the product actually delivered. And I think the other thing they were doing was also talking to students to get them engaged on the platform, which is essential. But we're like, right, if you unlock the teachers right, that's how you unlock the students. I know there's that 5% of students who are, incredible and don't need teachers to tell them what to do, but that is not the vast majority, right? Most students will only do it if the teacher does it. So we shifted that whole position to be around the incredible results it does. It genuinely helps students achieve top results in all states. So leaning in on that, but also making clear that it's this daily teaching system for teachers. And so once you get them engaged, that unlocks the students and makes it a year-round product, not just a pre-exam product, which was, helps the sales cycle of only being, once a year and people always panicking. Model too. So I think that's a really great example of how by shifting, talking about this, ingrained everyday system, you start to unlock the magic of it. And the real magic of the system is that by doing these repetitive tasks, that's really how you strengthen your learning skills. And to do that, you have to be doing it every day as a student. Again, there's that very, very small percentage of students who can cram the night before and nail it, but that is not the vast majority, right? Most need to be strengthening those skills and those learning skills over time and really embedding that in how you work. So that was one of my favorite examples. And I love the team so much. I love David, who was the CEO at the time, who I've worked with on another positioning project since at his new company, CIM. And then Clinton was the CMO at Adrilo, and that was just a dream project. Went from talking about their positioning to then embedding it in their sales materials, their whole product marketing piece, getting it in their website, their communications, and then their product development, right? How can you build that moat around being the best for results and really helping teachers every day with their systems?
And that's a clear message, right? That takes time to get to, which is like anything. Yeah, clear message. PitchSlap.me.
PitchSlap me, yes.
Yeah, PitchSlap me, yes. It's everyone will share the links to it. I think it's a great little initiative in terms of how we might be able to help. What do I do? Do I upload my pitch? Do I put my, what is it generally?
I'm working on that at the moment. Yeah. You will answer, and I keep talking about building blocks, right? You're going to answer 6 questions that I think are the building blocks to any great pitch. You're going to talk about the gap in the market that your product is filling. But you're not going to talk about your product yet. You're just going to talk about what is the problem, right? And that could be that there's no solution for the problem that exists, or it could be there's a bad solution, right? It could be that if you've built a really lightweight AI-driven CRM, you could be positioning against a big, clunky, hard-to-use one. It's what is the problem? So you're kind of talking about that gap. You're going to move to a bit of market context and history, why hasn't this been solved? Who else is in this space? And what makes the market ready for your product right now? And this is the storytelling arc, right? So then the next step is talking about your solution. So you'd be right, this is the problem. This is why it's so difficult to solve. Hopefully, by the time you talk about what you do and how you do it, you'll be oh, of course it solves that problem, right? So that's the third question. The next one will be around your traction, whatever that looks like. Some, if you're trying to create a pitch for a pitch night, you might not have revenue, you might have customers, but you've got market signals. It depends. Whatever your kind of traction looks like for whatever your stage is, you'll talk about it here. Talk about the big vision, right? Where you want this company to be in 10 years, how you plan to get there, and then what your team looks like. But you can smash this out in a couple of sentences for each one. And as long as you give enough information, not just those 3-4 word answers, like my irate customer, it will do a pretty good job of shaping your narrative. And then what people will often do is go back and do it again, right? They'll take the PitchSlap output and go, let's feed this back in because I didn't give it a great shot at the beginning. And then it will keep refining it. So that's how it works. Answer 6 questions and I'll email you. What I wanted to do as well was leave people with a document. So it won't just appear on the screen. I will send you a Word document so you've got a copy of your story that you can reference and use in your communications. And then if you want, you can pay for the pitch deck build. You upload that into the pitch deck builder, answer a few more questions, and it will spit out an investor.
Very cool. It sounds very, very similar to, we've got a little product, DevReady AI, which is helping people design their product. They answer 6 to 8 questions and they get a product brief and then they can get modules, features, functions and start to plan out a solution. Yeah, so it sounds similar. And it's called DevReady AI, DevReady.ai.
Check it out.
Yeah, have a play. It's a similar thing. We get AI to help you along the journey a lot, which sounds like you do too. Just to get to a core goal, let's get to a product brief. What are the beginning? What are the so very, very cool. Helps a lot from a
I think I position myself against people using like ChatGPT to do it, and it's like they don't know the questions to ask you.
There's no structure.
There's no structure. So I'm helping provide that structure. And the other thing I had to build in, this was more great client feedback I got, customer feedback. Like I got a few people say, most people loved it, right? And then 3 people in the very first batch when I was still using the Google form were like, it's mean and it's not funny. And I was like, oh, that's not good. Like, I don't want to make people feel bad. And then when I looked, I feel like there might be a bit of cultural, a lot of those people were in the States.
Got it. So it just depends on the culture. Yeah, okay.
Maybe. So I need to adjust because there's nothing, I don't want to make people feel bad about themselves. The idea was to make them laugh. Correct. So now there's 3 modes built in. So you can choose brutal and sassy, candid. And the third one is based on one person's feedback when they said, I need my feedback in such a big shit sandwich that I can't taste the meat with so much white bread. So now I have shit sandwich mode with big fat white bread.
Nice. All right. That's give people options.
Give people options. Give people what they want, right?
If anyone wants to see that, it's just pitchslap.me and just have a play. It sounds like a cool little product and something to play with in terms of conceptually when you're putting things together. Sarah-Jane, thank you for joining us. I think we could go on in many different frames and facets, but that time is probably up for today. I think we'll get you on again next year somehow. It's more specifics. Yeah, that's really good. Really been a pleasure coming on.
It's been a real pleasure, and I'm going to have to try DevReady.ai.
Yeah, and I'll give yours definitely a go because I'm fascinated. I'll start pointing some people there that are really raw. Thank you, Sarah. Have a lovely afternoon.
You too.